There we go.
All right, we are here live with Mitch Ribak for our revenue share huddle. Today is another Monday. Happy Monday, you guys, and welcome back to our EXP huddle that we do every Monday. I was just mentioning to Mitch that I've been doing this myself now for 2 years straight. Actually, October will be 2 years that I've been at EXP, and I have been either leading or attending the revenue share huddle for almost every single Monday, except for if I was on a trip, for 2 years. And it's just something I got used to as far as just starting my week out with this conversation. This is a big part of, why I came to EXP, is to use my leadership and to succeed through others. And so this is a big focus of mine. And I'm really grateful that we have people that gather together on Mondays here. Of course, that's part of our awesome culture. Speaking of our awesome culture, Mitch is a big part of that. If you guys have been active at all in EXP Family Tree, you know that Mitch is always giving of his time. He is very dedicated to all of us. And gosh, Mitch, over 9,000 agents in EXP Family Tree now.
I know, it's crazy. When Rich, Hank, and Elizabeth and I started this, we knew it was a good thing, but it just shows you that people crave connection and people crave helping. And we wanted to start something that was not based on who you're under.
Yeah.
That was not relevant in our thing. It was like, let's just help everybody. And I still live that life. I mean, I do coaching all the time for free to everybody. I used to charge like everybody $1,500 an hour for coaching. And I just been so blessed by EXP and their model, and it's changed my life, changed my family's life, changed my grandkids' lives, it's changed everybody's life. And we're so blessed that we just wanted to help as many people as possible. And Family Tree gave us that avenue to do that. And I think these are the first 18 months of Family Tree. I was doing a class every week, and I ran out of content after a year and a half. But B, I had we wanted to. The whole idea of Family Tree was, let's get it rolling, and then pass it on to others to take the lead and be the leaders, and that'll keep functioning hopefully forever. Because every time we reach out for leaders, we get a gigantic response of people who want to help and share.
That's right.
Great.
And that's really what's been happening. It's been really cool to see, people kind of pass the baton, even if it wasn't necessarily intentional. That's what is happening. And I know that's what will continue to happen. And we're continuing to grow with members by the day, because people do really love the community, because it doesn't matter, who you came under, who your upline is, how you got into EXP. It doesn't matter. It's just people who are like-minded that want to continue to learn and build relationships with each other, which is amazing. And so this revenue share huddle has been going on for many years. Obviously, revenue share is a big part of the EXP model. And as you mentioned, EXP has changed your life, your family's life, your grandkids' life. Before everybody got on, Mitch had his guitar, you guys. And I said, "Oh, you have your guitar?" And he goes, "Of course I do. That's my life, besides, my family, my grandkids, and of course, helping out my fellow EXP agents." And so tell us a little bit, for those that maybe don't know you or aren't privy to your story. Can you just kind of recap a little bit of, how you got here? How has EXP changed your life in terms of revenue share? Because the people that watch this and come live to this call, they believe that EXP's model can change their life too. And I love this Monday revenue share huddle, because somebody always resonates with somebody's story. And we need that motivation and inspiration and just to kind of keep us going, to take advantage of what is in front of us.
Sure. So I was born in 1961. Okay. I know it's kind of weird, you think about how old I am, and I don't feel old at all. I look in the mirror and go, I like pretty old, but actually I'm like 25-year-old stuck in a 62-year-old body. I still have as much energy as I did when I was a kid. Okay. So anyway, I've been in real estate since 2001, like I mentioned earlier. Actually, it was the first online dating service prior to that. And in 2000, when the internet bubble burst, I lost about $82 million. Bad day. Couple bad days.
Yeah.
And then my friend's like, "Get your real estate license. You'd be good at it." I'm like, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in real estate. I don't like any realtor I've ever had." But anyways, he convinced me to get in. And I didn't know anybody here, because when I had the dating service, I traveled every day. Like 25 days a month, I was on the road. And so I got my license, knew my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and her mother. And that was the only two people I knew. My girlfriend lived with me, so she wasn't buying anything, and her mother already had a house. So I just didn't see what was difficult. I'm an entrepreneur. I've had 23 companies over the last 43 years now. Crazy. But there's one thing involved with every company. And by the way, this will tie into EXP attraction also. you have to figure out where your leads are coming from.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't care what business, every business has the exact same sales cycle. It's you capture leads, you nurture leads, you close a lead, and then you create a customer for life. Every single product in the world, right? I don't care what you do. So when I got into real estate, it was the same thing. And I sold 36 homes my first year. Yeah. I was a little disappointed. I wanted 50, and then the next year I sold 50. The following year I sold 80. Then I sold 80 again. And then I started my brokerage in 05. I was 6 agents. I had a team of 6. And started my brokerage, Topical Realty of Century. And we built that over 13 years into 120 agents, 700 transactions a year. A little formidable, sizable. But the dirty little secret nobody tells you about is you don't make any money. Yeah. Minor detail. I mean, I worked 80 to 100 hours a week. Average, I'll give you many numbers because I'm very transparent. My best year, I made 200 grand.
Wow.
My best year. Now I made more than that selling houses.
Yeah.
With no headaches and very little money out of my pocket. And here I have $100,000 a month overhead that was there whether my agent sold or not. Anyway, so and then 15 plus calls every single day. And it was never, hey, Mitch, you're the nicest guy and the most awesome guy in the world. It was like, wah, 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 wah. I tell people I started my brokerage to leverage and freedom, and I got babysitting in prison.
Oh, so
Right. So when I turned 56, but I was 56 years old, and I knew that if I kept doing what I was going to do, I'd probably die shortly. My dad died at 58, my mother died at 59. And I do an accountability conversation with myself every day. Still do it every day in the shower. I have a mirror in the shower. I shave. It takes me a little long because I got to shave that now too. And see the reflection off the sun there. I can get to move. But anyway, so I said, what am I doing here? I go, what happens if I die? So if I died the next couple of years, like my dad did, most of my relatives died in their 50s. Like, what happens to my family? And honestly, I played the game. I wore nice suits. I drive nice BMWs. I played the part like I'm ultra successful. Everybody thought I was rich. Like everybody, Mitch, can you do a $25,000 donation? I go, I can't afford $20 donation. What are you talking about? And so I said, I'm going to sell the company. I got to be done with this. I got to move on to something different. This is just not, I can't go the rest of my life like this. So I got offered $3.5 million from two franchises. And they both offered the same. I decided to go towards Century 21 because there's so many Remaxes here. I didn't want to do a Remax. So I went through the whole process. And by the way, at this point, I've talked to Howard Fritz, who's my sponsor. Not too many people know Howard, but I talked to Howard many, many times. I met with Jason Gessing 3 times about EXP, but I just didn't resonate. At the time, there was 400 agents with EXP. I just didn't see it. And again, and this is really important when you're talking to brokers to understand, my ego was gigantic. I was president of the board in 2014. I was a district vice president of the state of Florida in 2015. That's when I started talking to EXP, and I was like, you guys really aren't? Yeah, okay. I didn't get the whole avatar thing because I'm 62 years old and even my kids didn't have avatars. But anyways, I went through the whole negotiation with Century 21. And the final meeting, they were telling me how I'm going to get paid. So I was ready to go. So I'm going to get a little money the first year, a little money the second year. The third year is my final payment is 70% of the revenue.
Wow.
Here's the kicker, based on the retention of the existing agents. Because we're being taped here, I won't tell you exactly what I said because I don't want my reputation to be a F-bomb guy, but I'm going to give you the F-bomb. I'm not. But I said, let me get this straight. So I got 120 agents. I go, half my agents leave because you guys suck. My 3.5 goes to 1.75. And they said, yeah. I go, that's the stupidest effing thing I've ever heard in my life. And I literally got up, walked out of the meeting and left. Went back to my office, totally defeated because here I thought I was escaping. And I fired 50 agents in about a week. I called every agent that I knew was not going to sell a house or sold a couple of more pain in the butts to me than they were worth it. And I was able to save $30,000 a month off my overhead by doing that. But I was so beat up from having a brokerage for 13 years and I didn't want that for the rest of my life. Any broker that tells you they're really happy is full of crap, right? They're not. They're going to tell you that because they have to tell you that. So anyway, so I called Jason Gessing up for the 4th time. Said, Jason, I'm going to be in Inman. This is all November 2016. So I called Jason up and I said, can we meet at Inman? He said, sure. Now, Jason and I are actually really, really good friends and possibly going to Red Sox fantasy camp in January together. But he told me later on, he goes, I did not want to meet you. You're the last person I wanted to spend an hour with at EXP at Inman, rather. But anyways, we met and I said, look, I'm struggling with Tropical Realty, the name changed to Tropical Realty Beachside. I'm having trouble giving up that brand. Nobody knows EXP. There was only 50 agents in the whole state of Florida in 2017. I go, nobody knows you, right? And for me to give up everything, because I'm giving it up, I'm not getting any money, right? I'm giving it up. I'm struggling with that. He goes, well, just be Tropical Realty Beachside brokered by EXP. Now, honestly, if he told me that 2 years earlier, I probably would have joined.
Oh,
My brand was my sticking point.
yeah.
So anyway, so we go ahead and I come back to my my wife. Remember, she's thinking $3.5 million, right? I go, so I get this thought and this idea, and I want to run it by you, because I would never do it without my wife giving up my company, right? I said, this is what I'm thinking, and a lot more conversation, at least several hours. But she goes, what's the worst case scenario? I go, the worst case scenario, we look at it 6 months later. If it's not doing what I think it could do, we'll switch back to Tropical Realty. Big deal, right? She goes, I go, but even the worst case scenario is I go back to selling homes full time. I was still selling 30 homes a year because I had to pay my bills. I go, well, I'll go back to selling houses if I have to. And I'm better at it now, more efficient at it now. I don't have to work 80 hours a week doing it because I know how to do it in 40 or 50. So that's all we had to lose. And I said, the alternative, Jen, my wife's name is Jeanette, I go, I'm going to die. And I haven't left you anything because we have no money. We have a house, we have a condo, and we've got like 20 grand in the bank. We're going to die. I'm going to die. You're going to get nothing. So we said, all right, let's go for it. She did a little bit of work. I researched on Glenn Sanford, found him interesting and stuff like that. But anyways, came back to my agents. We talked to 34 of my 65 at the time that did almost all the business. I did 92% of the business when I had 120 agents, and they all bought it. And we made the switch in June of 2017 with 40. We lost 25 during the switch. My compliance manager, because I love the ethics in our business, decided while I was paying his salary to recruit my agents away from me. Oh, Mitch sold the company and you're not getting nothing. He's screwing you over. I'm like, oh, nice. Luckily, the 19 agents that he got combined did $3 million in sales the next year. I didn't lose anything. Of the 6 agents that left that actually sold houses, 3 of them came back. They were scared. I get it. Every broker was calling up, telling us we're a scam. Nobody heard of EXP, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, we switched over with 40 agents in June of 2017. And it kind of changed the dynamic. And I don't mean this in an egotistical way, but everybody will tell you who's been around for a while. It changed the dynamic of EXP because all of a sudden this big broker, which never happened before, made the jump.
Yeah.
It opened the door. So we went from averaging like 50 agents a month as a company to within about 6 months, 9 months, 800 agents a month. Oh. And we broke every system. Back then, if you guys haven't been around for a long time, it was literally 2 to 3 weeks to onboard an agent back then. It was a nightmare. I can't tell you how many times I almost switched back. I literally probably 24 times I said, what the hell did I do? Right. So anyways, so fast forward here, 6.5 years later, not quite. We were just under 2,200 agents. I've got 49 FLAs, 30 FLQAs. I personally brought on 110 agents. The mistake I made at the beginning, the first 18 months, was I did what I did in my brokerage. I brought on brand new agents. So I didn't create any freedom. I didn't create that leverage and freedom. But here I am now. All of them have left, all those new agents, except for a couple. So instead of having 110 FLAs, I have 49. But more importantly, I've truly created leverage and freedom. And I've been able to do that by having agents plugging into the systems, by really loving on my agents, loving on contribution. I'm a huge universe guy. You give, and eventually the universe will take care of you. Still not growing my hair back for some reason, but I figure it's coming. So that's the story in a 15-minute tirade. But it's a long story, but it's important to understand, especially when you're talking to brokerages. And right now, by the way, guys, this is the time. Brokers are not making money. They're freaking out. The business isn't really down, but the inventory is up. So in their perception in their brain is the business is down. It's not. Right? You're still selling the same amount of homes. I just did those numbers this morning for my group here in Meriden, Florida. But brokers are freaking out. And when their mindset gets damaged, they start what next? What do I got to do? So this is a great time to be talking to brokerages, all sizes. You heard EXP just brought on the Bean Group, 600 agents in New Hampshire. It doesn't matter the size. Don't let that intimidate you, right? It doesn't matter the size. They're not making any money. I had a meeting this year with a brokerage up north with 350 agents that actually Gene Frederick asked me if I could go talk to him from, and of course I will, because I love Gene and I do anything to help him. And they have 350 agents, average sales $1 million, and they netted in 2022 $104,000.
Oh my gosh.
That's typical. I have another agent brokerage, and I'm giving these examples because I want you to understand where they're coming from. They probably won't share the pain with you, by the way.
Yeah.
Because if you're an agent, if you're an ex-broker like me, I get it out of them, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I did this brokerage in Orlando, talking to super successful. Like, how's it going? Oh, killing it, we're making a fortune, and team's doing great. I go, okay, well, let me look at your numbers, because if it doesn't make sense, I'm going to be honest, and I am. If it doesn't make sense, I will tell you 100%. This does not make sense to you. So by the time I was done pulling out all of her numbers, her net from the brokerage was minus $7,500.
Wow.
But I had no clue.
That's really common, Mitch, is that they're doing so much production. So they're making money, but they're not realizing it's all the money that they're making, that if they would just be out there selling real estate by themselves and not have all these expenses and this headache, and they really literally don't even understand that until you break down the numbers.
But even then, she's not joining. And she's not actually, I'll never do it, because she's making a lot of money herself.
Okay.
And it's the ego part.
Yeah.
It's my baby. And even because $7,500 when you're making $750,000 a year is not a big deal. Right. And so I get that. I understand that. I mean, I wasn't making anywhere near that. I wasn't going to, and it was hard for me to give up my brokerage. But when you get true business people to really sit down and look at the model, I literally just came from a broker meeting in my conference room right before I got on this call. Like, that's why I was only on here 4 minutes before instead of 10 minutes before playing my guitar. But literally, they're getting me to expand around the nation, and I said there's a better way. And the ego's struggling to get past the whole ego part of it. It's what held me back for 2 years.
Yeah, and think about that. If you had 2 more years of time, in the EXP model, it's pretty incredible to see what you've accomplished in 6 years. Well, a couple of things I want to ask you, because yes, we should all be talking to and not be afraid to reach out to broker owners locally to us, or if we have relationships across the country. Mitch is a great resource for us. If we need him, obviously, come to me first, and then we'll bring in anybody we need to, or go to your upline. But, they are in a lot of pain, and it just sometimes is timing. Sometimes it's just talking to somebody who's been there, done that, like Mitch, or somebody else we have here at EXP who has been a broker owner, who can really say, like, I get where you're coming from. I felt that way too. It took me 2 years, but here's what I know now that I wish I would have known then. And that helps a lot, because if we haven't been in that position, we sometimes can't earn the right to have those kinds of conversations. Right, Mitch?
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down. It's not that I'm anything special. It's just that I've been there. So they can't, how do I say that? They can't bullshit me.
Yeah.
Right. They just can't. I mean, I know the truth. And I love, this is one of my favorite lines when I'm talking to brokers. I go, my favorite part of being a broker was, you take a brand new agent and you put everything into them, you mold them, they start going up the ladder. And then the day they knock on the door, and, hey, can I come in for a minute? And, hey, can I close the door? And, Mitch, I got to tell you, you were like the best mentor I could have ever asked for anybody better than you, but I'm going to go over there now because that's what happens. And that's just, every broker out there is terrified of losing their agents, because unlike EXP, like if I lose an agent now that's an icon agent, what do I lose? $2,800. And by the way, I haven't lost any icon agents, but if I did, I'd lose $2,800. Even capping, I think I've lost one capping agent in the past 4 years on my first level. I lose $2,800. Now, when you're bringing in almost $1 million, do you care about $2,800? No, I don't care about it at all. So that stress, which is a constant stress as a broker. If I lose it, just to take a step back, sorry, ADD steps in all the time. If you took it a 10 agent brokerage, that means they only have 3 agents.
That's
plus
right.
them. They're selling full time to pay the bills. My ex-business partner sold for 6 months to pay the bills, right? And all her commissions went to the bills for her office. So if they lose one person, they're losing a third of their revenue.
Mhm.
Huge. When I lost an agent, when I had Tropical, I could lose 50, 60, $70,000, right? From one agent. Now I was blessed. I'm really good at what I do. And I only lost 15 agents in 13 years.
Wow.
So now if I had 500, by the way, but I
Mhm.
only lost 50. Even last year with 180 agents local that I have, we lost 4 agents. None of
Wow.
them sold more than 2 homes. So we don't, I do a lot of stuff, and that's kind of on a side note,
Mhm.
even though they say you don't have any responsibility as a sponsor, you do.
Mhm.
And the responsibility is to retain them. I tell people I don't get paid to recruit. I get paid to retain,
Oh,
you know,
help people
because I don't want
succeed.
to,
Mhm.
yeah, well, you make people successful, if you
Yeah.
do stuff. But the beauty, but when I had my brokerage, I was getting 15 calls a day. Now I might get 3 a week,
Yes.
you know.
So explain
Uh,
that. So what shifted so that when we're talking to brokerages, when we're growing our revenue share group, yes, we do have responsibility. I always say it's not only a responsibility, but it's a huge gift to be able to be in this model because it truly is a success through others. That means people have to be successful and we have to help them as much as possible and allow them to help each other and create a good culture where we can all do that alongside each other. And that's really a great opportunity when you've got a big group of people locally, because hopefully you can create that culture. And I know you've done that. So before most people joined, Mitch, you said something that I'd love you to repeat if you can, which is you were just doing the numbers for your local agents. And you said you have 180 local agents, and you were talking about the production, and people were kind of saying how they feel like the market is changing, but you noted that with the numbers, it actually hasn't. So can you repeat that? And then the second part of the question is, what do you do locally to really create such high, success through others and retention, so to speak?
sure. So I'm a numbers guy. I do numbers every week because this is 100% a mindset business.
Mm-hmm.
Like if my favorite line is Henry Ford, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
And in this type of market, people go they'll blame the market, or the perceived market, by the way,
Yeah.
on their business. Well, I'm not doing good because the market's not doing good. No, you're generally not doing good. You stopped working because you thought the market was bad, right? I mean, that's the reality. So I went back to so I had a meeting this morning. I do an elevate your business meeting with my agents on Monday mornings live. I have 2 offices. We'll talk about that in a minute for retention. And so I looked at the numbers from March of this year till today. So in March we had approximating, because I don't remember the exact numbers. We had a little over 1,700 single family listings in March. Right. We currently have 2121. I only remember that because it was 2121.
Yeah.
Now, so 400 listings more roughly, right? But the interesting number is in March, we had 1,089 sales for the previous 30 days. And in today, we have 1,086
Wow.
for the previous 30 days. So the market has not changed at all as far as how it is selling from a buyer standpoint. From a listing standpoint, yeah, it's changed a little bit. Instead of being on the market for a day or 4, it's on the market for, depending on how you price your property, for 30 to 60 days.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, a normal market is 3 to 4 months.
Yes.
A lot of people don't understand this. A lot of you agents, you get a lot of you guys don't understand that you spoiled the last 10 years.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as 3% interest rates. That
No.
was a prop for us for the last 10 years. They're not real, right? The average interest rate the entire history has been 6.5%.
Yeah.
Right? I think we're at 7 right now, right? My first house I bought was 14%. Don't feel bad. And so we have a whole generation of realtors. And by the way, notice I don't say realtors, drives me crazy. Realtors. I told off I had like 600 agents I was training a few weeks ago. And I just ripped into it because they all started saying realtor. I'm like, what? Where's the I? But anyways, we have a whole generation of consumers that don't know the difference between 3%. And we have a whole generation of realtors that don't know the difference. But this is we're not even, we're still at 50% of listings right now. We're still not at a normal market. A normal market, we get up double our listings in inventory, but that's every state. I get agents in 49 states. I talk to everybody about this stuff. So all the markets are a little bit similar. I mean, a little difference here and there, but pretty much similar. So let's talk about retention. So I'm an infrastructure guy. I always have been, because you own 23 companies, you better be an infrastructure guy. You don't run a business. It's one of my things with realtors. And I'm going to do a class on here. I did it for Elizabeth Riley's group. I do are you in business or do you have a job? It's a pretty good class I put together for my agents locally. But how do I not get phone calls? because I have a sales manager and an operations manager. I don't want phone calls. So I have infrastructure. I plug people into EXP. I also have two, this is what I do locally. I have two offices. One's an executive suites that I pay $1,400 a month for nothing. It's beautiful. I have receptionists, all that's for $1,400 a month with two offices. And then locally, another office is what I'm in right now. I bought the building and just bought it as an asset for and running another, and my corporation pays my mortgage on it. And so it's an asset, but it's also a recruiting tool. I placed it in an area where we don't have a lot of EXP agents. And so I'm using that for leverage. Now, the reality is 10% of the people show up for our stuff.
Yes.
Nobody shows up, right? And when I had my brokerage, nobody did either. And it's the same thing. But what people see, we send out a calendar every week of all the stuff that I do, just as we do. Our organization is called the Tribe, which is 2,200 agents. So what we do locally and what we do Tribe. So we have a different one that goes up for our local agents. And it's just immense how much stuff we offer. Right? We just offer stuff. And so nobody can say there's no support. Nobody can say there's no education. Nobody can say nothing. I give free coaching to anybody that wants it. By the way, regardless of the brokerage they're with, it's how I attract agents. We can talk about that in a bit. And I'm personally talking to my agents. Now, I'm not killing myself. I took off this summer. I was gone. I was only home for 3 weeks from the middle of June till the beginning of September. I was in Greece and I was in Boston. Got to play a baseball game at Fenway Park. If anybody's a baseball fan there, that was like the highlight of my life. I could die now. I'm good. I only had two things on my bucket list in my life: go to Normandy, which every American should do, and play baseball at Fenway. I've done them both now. So if I keel over while we're talking, you guys are all set. But when I said earlier, I now could create leverage and freedom. And one of the things I'm teaching now to anybody that will listen is, are you chasing money or are you chasing freedom? You have the opportunity for freedom here. I've never seen that anywhere else. Because if there was, I would have done it. I've never seen it anywhere else. And yeah, do we have some competitors right now doing similar type of stuff? They're not EXP. I mean, I've been hit up and offered money for both of them. They're our two biggest competitors, right? And I looked at one of them. I'd have to have 8,000 agents to make what I'm making now. And the other one's owned by institutions. I like EXP because we're 70% owned by agents and employees. That's very powerful. A lot of people don't get that. But that's probably the most powerful thing that we have in our company right now is we control the company. Very powerful.
Yeah.
So that's retention. Retention is about providing. Doesn't mean they're going to use it. They don't. I have a thing that I bought as a university for my organization. Out of my 2,200 agents, only 210 have even logged into it. But I spend the $25,000 a year on it because it's an attraction tool.
Well, and I mean, when you're making, $1 million or more in revenue share, you probably have to have some business expenses, right? So,
well, you don't actually, a lot of people don't. I'm one of the few that actually do what I do. There's not a lot of people that do what I do. And it's mainly because I can't, and this is a flaw in me, by the way. I can't do that. I would love to be able to, and I have lots of people, and I would never mention names, that really don't do anything for their organizations. They have good, they make good money, and they are having an amazing life. And sometimes I look in the mirror, I go, what are you doing, Mitch? But the reality is, because the way I'm set up and I make a little bit less money than I would have made, I have freedom. I'd rather make less money and have freedom at 62 years old than have more money and no freedom.
Yeah. So I love that you say this. I think that you're speaking to me today because we actually, started a space here locally as well. And it's so funny that you say like about 10% of the people show up, but what's really fascinating is we've recruited a tremendous amount of people, even though people don't necessarily always show up, it's what they're seeing is available to them. And people always think that they need an office space and they want to have the comfort of knowing they have one, but they don't always use it all the time. And so I'm thankful to you for saying that, because I always wonder about that. And I believe that, but then yet I still am like, how come I can't get more people to show up? So thank you for that.
The thing is here's what I've learned about our business. It's probably the most frustrating business I've had out of my 23 companies that I've owned. Being a broker, now I'm not, because again, the money is different than having a brokerage, but everybody's got to do that. If you don't want to go to your meeting, you want to plug in, awesome. That's great. I hope you do awesome. If you want to plug in, I'll share as much as I can to anybody that wants help. But ultimately, the beauty of EXP versus having my brokerage, I don't chase anybody.
Yeah.
Ever. Like when I had my brokerage, Lee, if I had my meeting and 40 of my 120 agents showed up, I'd be calling the other 80. Hey, how can you show up to the meeting? Especially the ones that needed it the most, right?
Mhm.
And by the way, those are the ones that don't show, the ones
I
that need
know.
it the most. So why do realtors fail in real estate? Because they don't plug in, they don't implement, they don't build a business, they build a job. That's why I wrote this whole other class and getting ready to teach. Again, I'll be doing it in Family Tree in the next after EXPCon. It's a
Awesome.
great class. Really, do you run a broker? Do you run a business rather, or do you have a job? And by the way, if you have a job and you're selling 80 homes a year, you have the suckiest job in the world.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I used to sell 80 homes a year, worked 100 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
There's no fun in that,
Yeah.
right? There's no life. I'll tell you a real quick story. I had and I told you, Coach Amy, so I coached this guy, 62-year-old, same age as me, Remax guy. Sells 80 homes a year for the last 35 years.
Wow.
Never got married, never had kids. And I looked at him in the eye and I said, let me ask you a question. When are you going to start living? It's like, what I mean? I go, you're going to die soon. He goes, what do you mean you're going to die soon? I go, look, I'm the same age you. I'm going to die soon. Boy, I have 20 years left, 25, maybe 30. And I won't even be coherent. I'll be chasing nurses around the nursing home. But the reality is I'm going to die soon, just like you are. And you don't have a way out. So I'm actually building a thing called, it's a new type of team that I'm writing a book on right now. But I showed him how I sold 30 homes a year, except for the last two, because I stopped selling completely 2 years ago. I sold 30 homes a year the last 10 years, and I only worked 100 hours a year selling houses.
Wow.
100 hours a year.
Yeah.
Because I'm chasing freedom, not money.
I love it.
So when you understand chasing freedom, not money, the attraction model is a gold mine for that.
Amazing. So 2 things. There's a question in the chat box from Jason I'm going to get to in a second. But the one thing I just want to point out, and I'm assuming this, and maybe I'm assuming wrong, but it was interesting because you started this conversation saying, you told your wife, if I'm going to die soon and you're not going to have anything, because that has been what you experienced in your family's life. And then you come over to EXP and you let go of, chasing people and chasing the money and the transactions and retaining and all the stress and all the work for little money. And you come over and you start to let go of a lot of that. And you just really pour into the people who want it, and you're building wealth so that you have freedom. Do you attribute that to how great you look at 62? Because that story has very much changed for you, I assume, since you joined EXP.
Oh yeah, I have a new death year. I'll be 142 years old. That's when I'm gonna die. So yes, it's, a lot of people, and I'll give you, we brought on a brokerage in San Diego, and I went out there to fly out before, to do the closing, right? The close, whatever you want to call it. Super nice guy, was a mess. 260 agents, 240 agents, something like that. Lost half in the transition, by the way. But it didn't matter. He was losing so much money, it didn't matter, right? And we talked about it. He goes, I'm not going to last much longer doing this, because my dad died. He was a drill sergeant in the Korean War. We used to call him a light switch because he would just get, he'd be happy and then pissed off, right? Yeah. And we all know people like that. He died of stress. I mean, he had nine heart attacks, quadruple bypass, and a heart transplant, and died after that. And I knew I was going to die. There wasn't a question in my mind that I had a couple of years left, because eventually stress was going to kill me. I couldn't function. Then what happened, the reason being, by the way, when you like that, I was 30 pounds heavier, right? When you work 80 to 100 hours a week and you have that much stress, you drink way too much, which I probably still drink too much, but I have fun at least now. You eat like crap, because crap food feels good, right?
Yes.
You eat a lot of sugar, and those are the things that kill you. Right? You don't exercise, you don't have time. My golf game went from a 9 handicap to a 25. I mean, everything sucked. And I wasn't even playing enough guitar. And what happened, that part of the triggers was I did not see my children grow up. Didn't see it. I could not tell you 5 things that I do with my kids, and they're all in their 40s now. I was doing the same thing to my grandkids.
Yep.
And so, and by the way, it's every broker. And by the way, almost every realtor.
Yeah, I was going to say lots of realtors and lots of team leaders and lots of brokers, because we just don't know what we don't know. I mean, you're taught.
So my book is called The Big Lie. That's what it's called.
Can't
so
wait.
we're taught, we go to real estate school. What's the first thing they teach you? Well, you become really successful in real estate, then you start a team. And once you start a team, become successful, start a brokerage, and it's great. Because they won't tell you the big lie. And nobody will. I'm like with a megaphone right now. It's a friggin' lie. It's bullshit. Go back. Because so there's a way to run a business,
Yeah.
build a team that's very sustainable, creates freedom for you. Yet, like I said, I was selling 30 homes a year, working 100 hours a year, not a week,
Yes.
100 hours a year.
Yeah.
So that's my mission right now, is to teach people how to do it.
That's awesome. And it's a pretty important mission. And I think, you know, we continue to follow you and those of us that take this very seriously and really, really understand the freedom that comes with succeeding through others and alongside one another. And we really look up to you. So I'm really appreciative of you being here. So Jason, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question since you're here live?
He's got too much hair. He's got too much hair. We can't have that conversation.
We can't talk to him.
No, I mean, I'm only a year into EXP. I got a very small team. I was a pretty successful independent agent, trying to figure out the steps to work my way out of this job, right? You know, to grow a successful team like you're talking about that will sustain itself and ultimately get the freedom to start building these other pillars of income for myself, including, you know, the opportunity to build revenue share at a high level. And so being in an opportunity like this to take some tips, advice, I've always just like looking at people who are successful at this and do what they do. And so I was wanting to know, like, what it is that your daily schedule look like on a typical on a day, to be able to figure out at what point can I start implementing that into my schedule, so I can start doing it at a small scale and then ultimately eventually to a large scale.
And I'll tell you, and I'll answer that in 3 seconds, Jason, but the first 18 months I sucked at this. So even with my brokerage, I didn't do any recruiting at all at my brokerage. I literally, agents would introduce me to other agents, and that's how I grew from 6 to 120 agents. So when I knew I was failing at this, I got on a plane for 6 months and met with Gene Frederick, met with Brent Go, met with AJ Maida, met with everybody, Scott Lewis, Tracy Lewis, Dave Guy, everybody who was making it in the top, probably the top 10 people of EXP, I met with. And Rob Flick, they all had the same thing. I wasn't following the system because I didn't have to follow the system. I'm a broker. I know how to do all this crap. I know how to talk to agents. No. So the most important thing, what I learned is it's no different than selling houses. What's the most important thing of selling houses is building your sphere, right? Which probably nobody does. Everybody chases the shiny object Zillow leads, which is stupid, but sorry if you're doing that, but it's stupid. And so you make your list. What's the list of my agents that I know? That's number one, right? And it's so simple, but yet nobody does it. And then you take that list, and I did this organically because I'm an entrepreneur, and I said, well, what I'm going to do now, I have to become a recruiter. And by the way, I've still only made about, in 6.5 years, I've probably made about 10 phone calls to people, just to give you an idea. And I'll tell you how that works for me. And then you arrange that list by relationship, because who will talk to you with no problem? Your friends, right? And that's all I did. Jeff and Renee Frank, close friends of mine, I talked to them. Dennis D'Souza is, a great friend of mine. Talk to them. I talked to my friends. And so what happens is, how do you continue to grow that? Well, you just have to have more friends, right? So I'm lucky I'm a coach. So I've been doing that a lot through coaching, and I offer free coaching to anybody that wants it. And I don't talk about EXP at all. I also host every 2 months a thing called the Rockstar Real Estate Series. We have one on October 10th. I think we already have about 75 people signed up for it. So we'll get somewhere between 50 and 80 people show up, because only 60% show. But I'm bringing in people. I'm not the speaker on that one. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But I'm bringing in Jenna Caudell, who's a great luxury agent for EXP, and Peter Liu from Orlando, great luxury agent. So I'm bringing in people besides me to speak, but there's zero talk of EXP. So the problem everybody has with attraction is they're puking EXP over everybody. I don't talk about EXP ever. Ever. I talk about how can I help you, and I do everything from here. I sincerely want to help people. So I think when you come from the heart and you're not pressuring people, you're not trying to throw up EXP on people, or what we call EXP on people, right? I think you'll find that you have a lot more better attraction. And I know that everybody talks is not going to join today. My bigger people have taken 1.5 to 3 years to join. My icon agents, right? Not all of them, but my agents that are my bread and butter right? The people that fill out my front line, which is really important, can generally join in a day or a week. Now, some take longer because it's the product, like I said at the beginning of this thing, the product is the same. You capture leads, people that might be interested, you nurture them, you got to stay in touch with them because it's 90,000 of us right now, and they've talked to lots of agents. They're going to join, just like buying and selling homes. Why do they use you as a realtor? Because you happen to be in front of them when they're thinking about buying or selling. Why they join you in EXP? Because they happen to be in front of them when they're thinking about joining. That's it. I've got 100 agents that I've talked to that joined under somebody else personally. I'm making up that number, but it's probably close. So you nurture, and then they join, close, right? Hate to use that word when an agent joins, but they join. And now you got to create an agent for life. You've got to pour into them. You got to get them to plug into the right systems and all that stuff. Because if you're not getting anything, right? They're going to leave. And that's the reason why the number one reason people leave EXP is because they didn't plug in.
Yes.
And they feel I was alone. I was lost. That's why. So your daily thing is, how can you help people? I'll give you a couple quick tips on meeting new people. My favorite is open houses. Go to open houses, because who's at the open house? Someone who has no idea how to do an open house, sing in an open house, that needs to join, right? So you show them, hey, you should plug them into whatever. Plug them into family tree out. These are, you can plug anybody into our Zoom calls, our training stuff, right? They're all on Zoom calls. Plug them in, plug Nani. One of the best ways to show people how to succeed in our business is show them what it's like to be part of EXP before they join. And so I do a top producer panel every Thursday for that reason. I do all my classes that I do locally are open to the public. Every deal you do, you're in production, right? You sell homes, right? Every deal you do, make a joke. So how come you haven't joined EXP yet? Right? 90% are gonna go, oh, I never joined EXP. You don't care about them. You care about 10% though. I'd be open to a conversation. Don't be attached to the outcome. Most people are going to say no because they have no idea what they're saying no to. All they've heard is EXP is just a recruiting company, right? But we know that's bullshit. Pardon my French, sorry. We know that only 12% of agents have anybody under them, right? It's not like every agent out here recruiting. And what happens is people do it wrong. They EXP on somebody and then never do it again because they didn't do it correctly. It's really follow the system. I mean, it's get them to watch one of the videos. I have mine is checkoutthemodel.com. Brent's is the model explained. I know Rich has one. Just show somebody's video and then say, I would love to answer any question you have, but I don't know the answers because I'm too busy selling houses. So could I get somebody on a call to help me understand what EXP is all about with you? And then get them on a three-way call. That was the number one thing that I learned when I did my 6-month travel, is follow the system. The other thing was, I'm a word guy. Words matter. So when I first started doing this, the first 18 months when I told you I was bad, I'm like, yeah, you can recruit agents and you can make $100,000 a year just recruiting agents. Well, you know what every realtor did when they got their real estate license? Well, they didn't do it to become a recruiter. Nobody wants to do it. I didn't want to do it, right? And so if you lead with recruiting, you will fail every time, right? Every time. And so I learned words. I said, all right, well, instead of recruit, let's use introduce. Instead of revenue share, let's use referral fees. So here's my typical line to an agent. This is all I do when I'm talking to an agent on a three-way call. So let me just give you a little bit about the revenue share. If you introduce 2 people a year over the next 3 years, and those 6 people, I'll introduce one that's up to $36,000 a year in referral fees. That's the end of my recruiting conversation, unless the conversation steers toward they're a broker or they're a business person. Then it'll be a different conversation. But 88% of realtors do not want anything to do with attraction. So you use words that are soft. Introduce. And I tell people, I grew my company from 6 agents to 120 because my agents introduce people to me. So if you like a restaurant, what do? You introduce them to that restaurant. It's the same thing. People like the word referral fees because they understand it, right? So I know that was a very long-winded answer for a quick question, but my daily schedule, I spend 1 hour a week on recruiting. Honestly, it's probably 2 hours a month. I'm so busy helping everybody else at this point in my life, I don't have a lot of time. But I am always doing is creating new relationships.
Mitch,
And
how long did you spend in the beginning though? I mean, like when you first came over, I know you came over with a lot of agents, but once you came over, you have all your agents in and you kind of started hitting a schedule week over week, like in that first year. Can you describe to us what that looked like?
yeah, still about an hour a week. Seriously. Well, because I was
Great.
running, back then I owned a company called Inside Sales Agents. We're doing lead conversion for
I got it.
165 brokerages. I had my coaching business. Still had my agents here. We had, had a lot of agents here still I had to deal with. We had a lot of overhead, a lot of stress. It took us 6 months to get our overhead down from 65,000 down to 8,000. So all
Got
that
it.
didn't happen overnight.
Okay.
I've never worked more than an hour a week doing this. And by the way, and I'm not talking about doing three-way calls. I'm just talking about for me, right?
Yep.
If you donate, if you contribute, if you put 2 hours a week into this, right? In 2 hours, phones down, email off, of sitting there. I don't care if you call or text, by the way, but preferably call your friends first. And
Mhm.
it'll give you an easy one. Call your friends, say, look, I've been with EXP now for just been here a year, right? And I really haven't done I really introduced that many people to EXP, but I'm really going to start doing that as a business now. I know this is not for you. I know you're probably not interested in EXP, but could you do me a favor? Can you watch this video for me and just tell me what you don't like? Tell me what objections you have. And then when they come back after they've watched it, because they'll watch that video because you're their friend, right? And say, when they do say, hey, can I get you on a call with Mitch? Because even if you gave me objections, I wouldn't even know how they're going to handle it. And I'd love to hear how Mitch handles them.
Mm.
And I will guarantee 90% of the people that I talk to join. And not because I'm that awesome at it, although I'm pretty good at it. It's because I know to ask questions and not talk at them. So when you're talking at someone, you're not listening. And I've heard that by a number of people who joined. The reason why I joined under that person is because they actually cared about my business. Okay.
Got it.
Darren?
Darren, next. I see your hands raised.
Let me unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep, we got you.
Cool. Hey, thanks, Mitch, for being on today. Your story is awesome. I might be the anomaly though, because I'm 100% cold call recruiter.
Great.
I did that in a business before, and that's pretty much all I do. My question though is that, so I have an avatar to where I only recruit capping agents and above. So 3 to 10 million is the solo capping agent that I'm going after.
Yep.
But in about 20% of the phone calls that I make, I run into the independent brokerage. And because I was never an independent broker, I'm not real familiar with a lot of their numbers and what it takes for them to operate their business. How do I go through and get them to a point where I could actually do a comparison? Is there someone that I could bring in to help me with that process so that we can start working them through?
Yeah, there's so much to get to before that point. Like that's the end of the conversation, right? So with brokers, there's a couple of things you can do. Oh, it's so funny. I'll pretend Darren you're a broker. That's so funny. I called you Darren. Sorry about that. But I'm really curious. So as a broker, because I've never been a broker, what's your end game? How do you stop? I'm just curious, right? And get them talking. Now, I would never admit to you what I was. But I might even say, if you get along good with the guy, hey, would you do me a favor and check out this video? Right? It's just about EXP. I would love, from a broker standpoint, I'd love your feedback. I know this isn't for you. I always do takeaways, by the way. I know this isn't for you, but I'd love to get your feedback on this if you take 30 minutes and watch this video for me. The 120 agents that came over from that brokerage in San Diego was a cold call from one of my agents. So it still comes down. What you have to do is get them thinking, because they don't think about it. They know their life's a mess. They don't know how to fix it, and they don't think that giving up their brokerage is a viable option because of their ego. They don't give it up because of their ego, right? So when you get them on the phone, just make a joke about it. Really, don't even talk about it. You can even not talk about EXP. So, I would even say something like, I've been thinking about starting my own brokerage. I go, what's the possibility of me getting together for lunch with you, picking your brain about being a broker? Maybe it's better than what I'm doing now. You have something that you can go to the next step. You have to get their trust to have a conversation with you before they'll talk about even opening up their books. No one's going to open up their books and say, hey, let me do a comparison between you. They're not going to do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's the process I go through, because I kind of treat them kind of like a solo agent at the beginning, and because they have a lot of, even as a producing agent, if they're still in production, they have a lot of the same issues that their solo agents have in their own
Sure.
production. So when I get to that next step and they say, okay, let's do a comparison. Now what do I do? How do I
Yeah.
get them through that process? Because I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, so you reach out, where do you live, Darren?
Right now I live in Montana, but I'm moving to Washington State here in about 4 weeks.
Okay, but you're west, okay. Love
Yeah.
Montana, by the way, beautiful, gorgeous here.
Wait, Derek, you're moving? You got to catch me up.
Yeah, I'm moving forward to buying a boat and putting it on Puget Sound so I can do my sailing.
Oh, nice, very nice.
Okay, awesome.
So I lost track of the question, sorry. What was it? Oh,
Sorry,
the
I was-
money, the money. Yeah,
I
so
was-
you talk to Sean Murphy. So when you get to someone to that point, you talk to Sean Murphy.
Okay.
Right. And Sean will point you in the right directions. We talked to Amy Weaver here over in the East Coast. Yeah, talk to Sean and they'll point you in the right direction. They have people that will analyze all their numbers. They'll look at what it looks like to be with EXP. And depending on the size of them, you have the Boost program, which is really cool. That's what the Bean Group just came in over. That's the first Boost company. A lot of requirements. I mean, 50 agents and $100 million minimum in sales. Which for 50 agent brokerage, if they're not doing $100 million or something wrong with them. But yeah, so that's where, so but the biggest part is getting into that point, right? That's the hardest part. And use now use me. I don't care. Right? As a three-way call. Hey, would you like to talk to a broker and see what it seemed like when he switched over from being a broker, 120 agent brokerage to EXP? What he thinks about it. I do three-way calls for anybody, any line. I don't care.
I'm going to call you.
Yeah, just hit me up on Workplace and I get
will.
my calendar. Okay. Yeah.
I have a brokerage right now that has 44 agents and they're willing to sit down and talk to me about it. So if I can get them to that point, I'll reach out to you. I appreciate that. Really, I do.
Yeah. In my video on my video, check out the model.com. The first few minutes, I talk about that whole story of me switching over. There's also, if you're talking to a broker, if you YouTube my name, Mitch Ribak, and then my wife's name, Jeanette. Renee Funkin did an interview with my wife. On the spouse of an EXP agent who came, this is a broker that moved over to EXP, and it's really, really powerful. It's JEAN, by the way, JEANETTE. Every broker that's watched that has called me and cried. They told me that they bawled their eyes out watching it because not only do you not make any money as a broker, I know we only have a couple of minutes here left, but you don't have a life. You don't have a relationship. I'd be divorced. If I wasn't dead, I'd be divorced. Because whenever we went out to eat, I was that guy. Wait a minute, I got an agent calling. Wait a minute. And then I get mad at my wife. That's how we pay our bills. Right? She was right. Even when I was pretending, I would look at her in the eyes, like I'm looking at Carrie right now. And she'd look at me, she goes, "You're not even listening to me, are you?" And I'd say no. Because I was never present, ever present. And now I am totally present. My phone's off at 6 o'clock at night. You will not see me on my phone unless my wife's on her phone watching TikTok. But I don't get TikTok. I actually don't get the whole 90-day fiance thing. That's a whole nother story. But
it's funny.
anyway.
I don't get that either. That's awesome, Mitch. I did chat in the box, you guys, for the website for Mitch too. Jackson, we just have a couple minutes. Quick comment or question, and then we'll wrap it up for Mitch. You're muted.
You're on mute.
I've been here a little over 2 years and, kind of like, I guess, all infants, like, you experience all these different things. I've reached out to Rich multiple times and everybody. And it's like, now that I'm back, it's like being so new, you can almost and I was so new to recruiting. I've never been a recruiter, I've been a teacher. And I kind of remember these conversations as an infant back then. As you grow, you're like, yeah, but Rich has done everything he's saying is so true. I've watched his wife's video. I've watched all his stuff. It's really amazing. And so there's truth to all that. But my question for Rich was for the entrepreneur. I seem to come across, because I've got a private money lending business. I do a lot of entrepreneurial behind the scenes stuff. I haven't been a big producer for multiple years. I had my small little brokerage. Now, the question I had was kind of like your conversation. Obviously, this would be for another time or whatever. Is your conversation with business owners and entrepreneurial type people that this business can kind of cross over for people. And I wanted to kind of find out your cliff notes on that.
Are you talking to non-realtor people?
non-realtor, or like I've had two people working on getting their licensing who are non-realtor, but I have other people that have it, but are also, yeah, so they just have that entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes. So, in all honesty, I did a little bit of that at the beginning, and I'm not wasting my time on it. Almost 90% of people say, yeah, never get their license. And then you put all, they want to meet with you. They want to, it's just a waste of my time. Not saying it's a waste of your time. Now, one thing I would talk to is people that are in the network marketing world, right? That have big organizations there. That's a different story. Because they understand the model, and I would probably 10 to 20% of the people in their group are realtors. Right. So those people I would have conversations with. Everybody else, it's just, very, very few people. I mean, we've had some people do that who were business people, never recruited. We have one girl that I thought would be a rock star. Literally finally got a license after 6 months, has not recruited one agent in 2 years. So they talk the game, but the reality is they don't know anything about real estate. So they're not there. So
Okay.
my opinion. Not
Yeah.
saying it can't work. It's just I'm particular. I look at, honestly, my goal right now is anybody between 1.5 million and all it up, because all that matters at this point in my life is qualifiers.
That actually will help me refocus. That's beautiful information right there. It's
Sure.
telling the things that maybe people don't want to hear. Keep you
Yeah.
focused and save your time.
Focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. I love it. Well, right on time. We have 1 minute to spare. Mitch, thank you so much for spending almost an hour with us. This was amazing. If you guys want to watch this again, it is live streamed in eXp Family Tree. You can watch it anytime. I will also have this out on my YouTube within the next probably 12 hours. So share it with somebody. Sometimes I just think sharing this with somebody you already have a relationship with that might be a broker owner or a team leader. Some of the things that Mitch said are going to hit home, and sometimes it's give them the space to just listen to somebody who's gone through it. And then, I found that that's actually quite successful for me. So that's why I love these calls, because we can leverage them as well, and leverage all of the trainings in eXp Family Tree to start bringing value to people and showing them what we do here at eXp before they get here. Like Mitch said, it's a great piece of advice. I've been doing it for 2 years and it's very much helped me. So Mitch, we can't wait to see you at eXpCon, and also your training after that you're going to do. Thank you for spending time with us today.
Of course, we'll talk to you guys all soon. Take care.
See you soon, guys. Have a good week.
Bye, guys.